Hey, it's Aaron, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders. And I got a bunch of dogs and cats surrounding me right now. An incredibly cute problem to have.
Sit. Sit.
Okay, so today I'm going to talk a little bit about Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump, specifically the whole thing where Donald Trump really hasn't been attacking Bernie Sanders, at least not as much as even the Democratic candidates have been. He's been mostly sort of siding with him, and I have a couple of reasons why I think that is. But if you were to ask me even just a week ago why I thought that was, I would probably tell you that it's because Donald Trump wants to make it look like the Democratic establishment has it in for Bernie. Because they do. And telling that truth for Donald Trump actually kind of works towards his advantage, because if Bernie Sanders wasn't to win the Democratic nomination, then he would likely have a whole bunch of his supporters go to the Trump campaign. Now, that doesn't mean that all of them would. Certainly the far leftist candidates likely wouldn't, but there is a certain amount of Bernie Sanders supporters that would probably jump ship and go towards Trump. Because of the populism, because of their rhetoric and that sort of thing. Now, that doesn't mean that Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders are at all the same, but there is a certain number of people that are, not incredibly informed about politics, or that are mostly enthralled by the spectacle of politics, that would probably look at Trump and think, you know what, that's better than Michael Bloomberg or possibly Joe Biden or Buttigieg, as people have told me to pronounce his name. But it's more likely that it probably won't be those candidates at all. So the original reason why I thought that Bernie Sanders probably wasn't being attacked by Trump was because he was hoping to get some of Bernie Sanders' voters onto his side. But now that Bernie Sanders is in fact the front runner, pretty much unequivocally the front runner, nobody else is even close to where he is at, I feel like Donald Trump still isn't really attacking Bernie. Now, it's still early on in, Bernie being the front runner, but he hasn't really attacked Bernie yet, other than just saying, he's crazy Bernie, he's the front runner, but he's been kind of also saying that him and Bernie are the same. Now, what does he mean by that? They're the same. Their rhetoric is different. Their political ideologies are different. The way they go about presenting themselves is entirely different. So why would Donald Trump still not be attacking Bernie Sanders and kind of, to some extent, defending him? Well, I personally believe that it might have something to do with Donald Trump looking at this whole spectacle from the perspective of someone who is spectacular, for lack of a better term. Donald Trump is a TV guy, right? He's a showman. He loves plot twists. He loves drama. He loves headlines. He loves being the center of attention. And as far as Donald Trump is concerned, I think that he's looking at this as entertainment television. Now, I've even heard hosts on Fox News say that the way that Donald Trump works in the White House, whether or not this is true, who knows, but the way that Donald Trump works in the White House is he does his thing, his political thing, where he does his deals, he talks to other politicians, wheels and deals, and does his shady business. But all of that is kind of behind closed doors, whereas up front, on Twitter, on the media, in front of all of the people, he makes a spectacle of himself, and the media is constantly forced to keep up with him. He's running 100 miles a minute, and everybody has to always pay attention to Trump. What's Trump doing? What did he say? How did he say it? And all of these things. He's completely created this tizzy in the mainstream media where they are constantly just following along whatever Trump has to say and trying to debunk it or whatever it is. But that works to his political advantage because they're always talking about Trump, while in the background he can get through anything that he really wants to get through. Any laws, legislations, bills that need to be passed, he'll get those through while at the same time being a complete and total distraction to anybody in the mainstream media. This is very useful to him and very useful to a lot of the oligarchs and the millionaires and billionaires that run the country. Now, how does Bernie Sanders play into all of this? Well, I personally believe that Bernie Sanders plays into this because Bernie Sanders isn't just the bog standard politician. Donald Trump doesn't want to demolish a weak candidate. That's bad TV. That's not part of the spectacle. Donald Trump doesn't want to just destroy someone. Of course, that would be easy for him. He would probably enjoy it. But what Donald Trump would enjoy more is to defeat a strong candidate, someone that he looks at as being somewhat of an equal. Of course, he believes that he has more supporters. Donald Trump is unflappable in believing that he is the top keck, the number one person that's going to be able to defeat all other opponents. But unfortunately, as far as I'm concerned, I don't think that Donald Trump can actually beat Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders, in almost every single one of the polls so far, has shown that he is more electable than Donald Trump. More people are interested in voting for Bernie Sanders. But that's the thing, is Donald Trump wants competition. He wants it to be good TV. He wants it to be that spectacle. And if he's able to defeat somebody as electable as Bernie Sanders, well, then Donald Trump would be unstoppable. I mean, already coming into this, he's kind of proven to be a little bit unstoppable. He's had everything happen to him, all the way from beating impeachment to beating Russiagate to inflating the stock market to unprecedented levels, even though that isn't a sign the economy is actually doing well. It's actually just a sign that businesses and billionaires and millionaires are making more and more money, while that wealth disparity between those millionaires and billionaires and the bottom 99% keeps growing larger and larger and larger, and more people are having to take on worse and worse jobs and work less and less hours. But outside of that, those are the things that Donald Trump is seeing as wins. He thinks that he has done nothing but win this entire time, and why not continue that winning streak by running up against the most electable candidate, the best possible candidate, the one that everybody says would be the hardest one to beat. That's really where he wants to be. He wants to be at that position. And to make things even more interesting is it isn't just that Bernie Sanders would become the nominee and he would be able to fight against somebody that's, really quite strong. But if Bernie Sanders becomes the nominee, then Trump is the only politician, the only candidate that all of the centrists and all of the millionaires and all of the billionaires and conservatives and anybody that follows the status quo, that he is the only candidate that all of them are going to rally behind. So the amount of money that is going to be poured into this campaign is going to be unprecedented. It's probably going to be more than anybody has ever seen in American history, possibly in world history, I would imagine. And assuming that it gets to that point without Bernie Sanders being fucking, assassinated by one of these millionaires or billionaire oligarchs that, just can't handle the thought of either one becoming the next president. So the only thing that I think that we should take away from this is that we need to fight harder than hard as absolutely possible to make sure that the entire country goes for fucking Bernie. I know that you're not going to get everybody, but you can get a lot of people, and to do that, you can get out there, you can phone bank, you can knock on doors, you can hand out leaflets, you can use this opportunity to get out the word, get out the message, and if you are post-capitalist, anarchist, Marxist, communist, that sort of thing, use this opportunity, phone banking, knocking on doors, handing out leaflets, to maybe bread pill some motherfuckers, to maybe talk to some people and get them on the side of, the left side of history, get them onto the idea that socialism, real socialism, is actually the thing that's going to save our asses right now. We're going to be heading up to a debate later on tonight. that'll be interesting. I'm sure that I'll have to pay attention to that a little bit. And before I go, I do want you to leave in the comment section down below some stories that aren't being covered in the mainstream media right now that are probably more important than all of this spectacle, all of this illusion of electoral politics. So let me know. Thank you very much for watching. Have a nice day.